To paraphrase my man Jay-Z, allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Michael Eric Dyson, in for Ed, who has the night off. President Obama held a news conference on the economy today. With an economic crisis facing Europe, the president wants Congress to act on shoring up the U.S. jobs force before it's too late.
Given the signs of weakness in the world economy, not just in Europe, but also some softening in Asia, it's critical that we take the actions we can to strengthen the American economy right now. Last September, I sent Congress a detailed jobs plan full of the kind of bipartisan ideas that would have put more Americans back to work. It had broad support from the American people. It was fully paid for. If Congress had passed it in full, we'd be on track to have 1 million more Americans working this year.
The plan sent to Congress would help boost public sector jobs, which are greatly needed. Since President Obama was elected, the public sector has lost a net of 600,000 jobs. The unemployment rate would be 7.8% with those jobs added. Public sector jobs remain the drag on the national economy. While private sector growth has continued uninterrupted, government jobs continue to be in the red. The president made this point today.
As I said, we've created 4.3 million jobs over the last 27 months. Over 800,000 just this year alone. The private sector is doing fine. Where we're seeing weaknesses in our economy have to do with state and local government. Oftentimes, cuts initiated by governors or mayors who are not getting the kind of help that they have in the past from the federal government.
It didn't take long for Republicans to pounce on President Obama's comments. Mitt Romney made sure to take advantage of the two words, doing fine.
He said the private sector is doing fine. He said the private sector is doing fine. Is he really that out of touch? I think he's defining what it means to be detached and out of touch with the American people.
The House Republican leaders had Mitt Romney's back during their own news conference, painting the president as out of touch.
Well, Mr. President, I used to run a small business. And, Mr. President, take it from me, the private sector is not doing well.
And my question would be to the president, are you kidding? Did he see the job numbers that came out last week? The private sector is not doing fine.
And, of course, the 24-hour media arm of the Republican Party had a field day with President Obama's out-of-context remarks.
To argue that the private sector is in good shape, it seems to me, is to be completely disconnected from reality.
They don't feel fine, and they want a president who understands that they are not fine. Just because they're not a cop or a firefighter doesn't mean that they're fine.
To say, the private sector's doing just fine and that sort of stuff, I mean, it does dishearten even some of his most loyal allies.
You can't tell us that the economy's okay. We all know the truth, so you might as well just come clean on it.
I think he just lost the re-election. Right now, on this day, mark your calendar, this is the day President Obama lost.
Since they love Ronald Reagan so much, let's go to him again. Now, there they go again. Fox News took several opportunities to compare President Obama to John McCain in 2008 by playing this clip.
Our economy, I think, still, the fundamentals of our economy are strong, but these are very, very difficult times.
My friends, only those suffering from political amnesia would forget that John McCain made those comments after the collapse of Lehman Brothers and Merrill Lynch. McCain was saying the economy was strong and the country didn't need to bail out the financial industry. Indeed, the president's remarks were becoming so deliberately misrepresented, he felt the need to reiterate his comments later in the afternoon.
It is absolutely clear that the economy is not doing fine. That's the reason I had the press conference. That's why I spent yesterday, the day before yesterday, this past week, this past month, and this past year talking about how we can make the economy stronger. We've actually seen some good momentum in the private sector. We've seen 4.3 million jobs created, 800,000 this year alone, record corporate profits. And so that has not been the biggest drag on the economy.
I mean, anybody who was actually paying attention to the president this morning did need that clarification. The president made very clear what is dragging on the economy.
One of the biggest weaknesses has been state and local governments, which have laid off 450,000 Americans. These are teachers and cops and firefighters. Congress should pass a bill putting them back to work right now, giving help to the states so that those layoffs are not occurring.
I mean, I must confess it was good to see Mitt loosen up a little bit from his stiff wooden image. But he was having so much fun mocking the president, he didn't realize that he gave away the big secret of the Republican Party's economic plan for America.
Instead, he wants to add more to government. He wants another stimulus. He wants to hire more government workers. He says we need more firemen, more policemen, more teachers. Did he not get the message of Wisconsin? The American people did. It's time for us to cut back on government and help the American people.
I hope you heard that. When Republicans say they want to do away with government jobs, they want you to think they're talking about some faceless bureaucrats stuck in some musty office in the corner. But this is who they are really talking about. Teachers, firefighters, police officers. Last year alone, 194,000 education jobs were lost. Make that 194,000. People doing public service jobs are not doing fine. President Obama is calling on Congress to act and get these people back to work. Corporate profits are at record levels. Taxes are at their lowest rate since the 50s. And Mitt Romney says we don't need any more teachers or firefighters or police officers. And by the way, Mitt Romney, he's doing just fine. Get your cell phones out. I want to know what you think. Tonight's question, whose jobs remark was worse? Text A for Mitt Romney, text B for President Obama to 622-639, or go to our blog at ed.msnbc.com. I'll bring you the results later in the show. Joining me now is former Labor Secretary Robert Reich. He's a professor of public policy at the University of California at Berkeley and author of the book Beyond Outrage, What Has Gone Wrong with Our Economy and Our Democracy and How to Fix It. Welcome back, Secretary Reich.
Hi, Michael.
Let me ask you this. Look, the president has added 847,000 jobs to the economy this year. That's about 169,000 per month. Certainly, it's slowed a bit to the last 2 months of 90,000, but that keeps it really barely above the unemployment rate, or at least keeps it from even going up higher. So the man has done a remarkable job in terms of what he's able to do with the private sector. Isn't that what he meant when he said, relatively speaking, they're doing fine, and the public sector has lost these jobs because of the obstructionism of the Republican Party?
Well, you know, you can expect that when the Republicans start taking the president's words out of context and bending them into pretzels and then trying to make fun of the president, they are doing it because they have no arguments, they have no ideas. What they are saying about jobs is basically the same thing that President Herbert Hoover was saying about jobs in the late 1920s and after the great crash of 1929. That is, all you have to do is cut government payrolls, cut government contractors, cut public budgets. I mean, this is the same tune they've always been using, and it is wrong now, and as wrong now as it was in 1929 and 1930. Because when you have so many people unemployed, when you have so much of America in terms of industry and factories generally and storefronts and offices that are vacant, what you have to do is stimulate and boost the economy. That government payroll is very, very important because those people, when they have money in their pockets and they have jobs, turn around and buy things. When they don't have money in their pockets, they don't have jobs, they can't buy things. And that means that there are going to be fewer jobs in the private sector.
Sure. Love that Herbert Hoover antecedent gives new meaning to Herbert Hoover vacuum. So do you think the doing fine comment will damage the president, or did he do enough to put this thing in context because they're trying to make hay out of this?
Well, look, we're in a kind of silly season. We're going into a silly season of politics. The Republicans are going to say what they're going to say. I think the president would do well to keep on his message. I mean, the Republicans have said no to everything he has proposed. His jobs bill, the original jobs bill, the next jobs bill, they are the nattering nabobs of negativism. And what the president has got to say is, look, I have a plan. I have ideas. I know how to move this forward. But these guys just say no. And if they're just going to say no, we're going to get nowhere, and you've got to replace them with people who are going to say yes.
You're 2 for 2 with the great Republican quotes, William Safire in the mouth of Spiro Agnew, like that. The president said that major job problems are happening on state and local levels. Here's New Jersey Governor Chris Christie responding.
It is an outrage to have the President of the United States stand up and say to hardworking governors, Republicans and Democrats around this country, that state and local government hiring is moving in the wrong direction, and we're to blame because the economy's not growing. He's the one who put forward an ineffective, wasteful stimulus plan that did nothing to help this economy. He's the one who saddled us with all these federal rules and regulations that don't allow governors to have the freedom to do what we really want.
To paraphrase President George W. Bush, is our politicians learning yet? Care to give Governor Christie a reality check, Secretary Reich?
Well, look at the facts. I mean, you know, there's a lot of rhetoric, and Governor Christie is as good as any with regard to rhetoric. The fact of the matter is that last month we lost 13,000 government jobs, most of them state and local jobs. That adds to the total of hundreds of thousands of jobs that have been lost at state and local government levels, and also federal jobs that have been lost. Those are jobs that once they are lost, they're not contributing to the economy. And Governor Christie is absolutely wrong. He needs to look at the facts. It's happening in New Jersey. It's happening in California. It's happening all across the nation because 49 out of the 50 states cannot run budget deficits, which means that if they don't have the revenues, because let's face it, a lot of very wealthy people in this country are paying lower tax revenues than they have ever paid, and a lot of people are unemployed and paying no tax revenues at all, then obviously the states are going to have to let people go. It's not the fault of the president. It's not even necessarily the fault of the governors. What the president was saying is a fact. That is, we have a fiscal drag right now on the economy, and it's coming primarily from state and local governments.
Well, these Republicans don't want to hear anything that would criticize the very rich, and they certainly don't want to talk about dealing with ramping up, if you will, the public sector. The president was warning us about Europe, wasn't he? What will happen, for instance, if our job numbers stay where they are now and the financial crisis in Europe worsens?
Well, the big danger is that the Republican plan, to the extent that there is one, is the same fiscal austerity that Europe is adopting. That is, whack public budgets. And what we've seen in Europe is if you cut public budgets, what you essentially do is you take more stimulus out of the economy. It's kind of an anti-stimulus measure, which means that you have more unemployment, which means you have fewer government revenues, which means that the public budgets are even more stressed and your deficits grow. I mean, that's why Europe is going into recession, because they adopted Republican-style austerity economics over there. Angela Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany, is basically saying and doing the same things that the Republicans want to do here in the United States. And look what's happening in Europe.
Well, we know that whacking public jobs budgets means that you have a whack economy, and that's just purely whack. Robert Reich, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us and taking time out of your schedule tonight. Remember to answer tonight's question there at the bottom of the screen and share your thoughts on Twitter @EdShow. I want to know what you think. Coming up, keeping secrets. Find out why one question really got under the president's skin and why the Republicans just keep droning on about it. Later, I'll show you how President Obama's evolution on gay marriage is helping his chances in a big swing state. You won't want to miss it.